You know that quiet moment when you're doing something you've done 1,000 times, maybe walking to the mailbox, carrying a bag of groceries up the front steps. These aren't the big dramatic warnings most men expect. Or simply standing up from your recliner after watching the evening news, and your legs just feel a little heavier, a little slower than they did even a year ago. Or you finish a simple chore like mowing the back half of the lawn, or washing the car, and you realize you're more wiped out than you should be, like your body is running on lower pressure than it used to. You sit down to rest and think, I didn't used to need this. There's no sudden collapse, no flashing alarm. They're silent, easy to miss changes that happen gradually after 60, and millions of men are living with them right now without connecting the dots. What if those everyday dips in energy, that extra breath you need climbing the stairs, or the way a minor scrape on your arm takes longer to close up than it once did? What if those aren't just random nuisances? What if they're actually early signals that your blood flow is quietly getting weaker? And what if some of the ordinary habits you've been doing for years, the way you eat, the way you sit for long stretches, the way you recover after a long day, are making it harder for your arteries to do their job? And what if a few small practical adjustments that most men never hear about could help keep things moving stronger, longer? Hi, I'm Dr. Hannah Blake, and I'm a urologist who has spent years working with men's health from the inside out: circulation, hormonal health, energy, recovery, and everything that quietly shifts after 60. I know it might feel a little unusual getting this kind of advice from a woman, but here's what I want you to know. I've sat across from thousands of men just like you who came in frustrated, confused, and tired of being told, it's just your age. I'm here to give you straight answers. No fluff, no runaround. So let's talk about the 4 silent signs your blood flow is getting weaker after 60, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it starting this week. At this stage of life, it's easy to chalk things up to just getting older. The body changes, and most men accept that quietly without asking why. But these 4 subtle signs show up consistently in men over 60, and they often fly completely under the radar until they start affecting daily life in ways that are hard to ignore. The first is that persistent low-level fatigue that lingers even after a decent night's sleep. You wake up, the coffee is brewed, the morning is quiet, but your body still feels like it's moving through molasses. You're not sick, you're not depressed, you're just slower to get going than you used to be, and it doesn't fully lift the way it once did. The second is reduced stamina during normal everyday activities. Climbing one flight of stairs, carrying grocery bags from the car, keeping up with the grandkids at the park, these leave you needing extra breaks you never needed before. Activities that used to feel effortless now require planning and pacing. The third sign is hands and feet that feel colder than the room around you, even when you're indoors, dressed warmly, and sitting still. Your wife or partner might comment that your hands feel like ice. You might notice your feet feel numb or chilly even with thick socks on. It's easy to dismiss, but it's worth paying attention to. And the fourth is minor cuts, bruises, or skin scrapes that seem to heal more slowly than they once did. A small nick from shaving, a scrape from yard work, they linger. The skin just doesn't bounce back the way it used to. These aren't loud, dramatic complaints. They're quite frustrating. You still feel like the capable, competent man you've always been on the inside, but the body isn't delivering the same easy flow of energy and recovery it once did. It can leave you wondering why simple things now take more out of you, why motivation sometimes feels harder to summon, and whether this is just the new normal you have to accept. It doesn't have to be. Here's what's actually happening inside the body, and once you understand the picture, it makes complete sense. After 60, our arteries naturally lose some of their youthful flexibility. Think of them like garden hoses that have been left out in the sun for decades. Over time, they become stiffer, less pliable, and they don't expand as easily when blood needs to rush through during activity or stress. At the same time, the delicate inner lining of those blood vessels, called the endothelium, begins producing less nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the natural compound your body makes to signal vessel walls to relax and widen, allowing blood to flow more freely to your muscles, organs, skin, and extremities. When production drops, everything downstream feels it. On top of that, low-grade inflammation can build up from years of normal wear and tear, compounded by diet, stress, and lifestyle habits accumulated over decades. Small amounts of plaque can begin forming along vessel walls, gradually narrowing the channel through which blood has to move. Think of it like hard water deposits slowly building up inside a pipe. The pipe still works, but the flow isn't what it once was. Hormonal shifts also play a supporting role. Certain hormones help keep vessel walls responsive and elastic, and as those levels shift with age, the vascular system loses some of its backup support. Most men never hear this part explained clearly. They assume these changes are purely inevitable, something fixed and untouchable, so they push through the fatigue, accept the slower recovery, and stop expecting more from their bodies. But here's what matters. When blood flow gradually weakens, it quietly affects how every organ, every muscle, and every inch of skin gets the oxygen and nutrients it needs to function and heal. Over time, that quiet deficit shows up as persistent tiredness, heavier legs, cold extremities, and slower recovery from even minor physical events. Understanding why it happens is the first step toward doing something about it. The encouraging news, and this is real, research-backed encouragement, is that several practical, everyday steps can meaningfully support healthier blood flow without complicated routines, expensive treatments, or extreme lifestyle overhauls. The endothelium, that critical inner lining of your vessels, is more responsive to lifestyle than most men realize, even later in life. Start with your plate. Nitrate-rich vegetables like beets, spinach, and arugula are among the most well-studied foods for supporting nitric oxide production. Your body converts the natural nitrates in these foods into nitric oxide, which signals vessel walls to relax and allows blood to move more easily. A practical way to start: add half a roasted beet or a generous handful of fresh spinach to your lunch 3 or 4 times a week. Many men notice steadier afternoon energy within a few weeks of making this a consistent habit. Not dramatic, but real. Pair that with omega-3 rich foods like salmon, mackerel, sardines, or a small handful of walnuts a couple of times a week. These healthy fats help calm the low-grade inflammation inside your arteries, reducing the internal resistance your blood has to push against. Timing matters here. Eating these foods earlier in the day, at lunch or an early dinner, gives your body the compounds when your circulation is naturally more active and can put them to best use. Dark leafy greens like kale and Swiss chard also provide magnesium, which helps regulate how your vessel walls contract and relax. And citrus fruits, oranges, grapefruits, lemons, bring flavonoids that support the flexibility of artery walls over time. None of this requires a dramatic dietary overhaul. It's about gradually crowding out the less helpful choices with ones that give your vascular system what it needs to function well. Movement is one of the most powerful tools available to any man over 60, and it doesn't have to be intense to be effective. A brisk 30-minute walk most days, not a stroll, but a pace where you're breathing slightly harder than normal, strengthens both the heart muscle and the vessel walls themselves. If possible, take that walk 30 to 60 minutes after a meal. That timing helps your body manage blood sugar more effectively and directs more circulation to the muscles right when it's most beneficial. Strength training with light weights or resistance bands just 2 times a week also significantly supports circulation. Here's something most men don't realize. Stronger muscles act like little auxiliary pumps, helping move blood back toward the heart from the legs and extremities. Even basic exercises, seated leg presses, light bicep curls, resistance band rows, contribute to that pumping action throughout the day. Hydration is simpler than most men make it. Aim for 8 to 10 glasses of water spread throughout the day, not all at once. When you're even mildly dehydrated, blood becomes thicker and more viscous, harder for the heart to move efficiently through the vessels. Starting the morning with a full glass of water before coffee is one of the easiest habits men can add immediately. And here's where a lot of men unknowingly work against themselves. Long, unbroken stretches of sitting, 2, 3, 4 hours without standing or moving, allow blood to pool in the lower legs and reduce overall circulation. Setting a simple timer to stand and take a short walk around the house every 45 to 60 minutes can make a measurable difference over time. Similarly, a diet consistently high in processed foods, added salt, and refined sugar quietly promotes more vascular inflammation and stiffness with every passing week. These aren't one-time events, they're cumulative patterns, and the body keeps a running tab. Quick question, let me know in the comments where you're watching this from. I genuinely love seeing how many men from around the world are taking their health seriously. I want to tell you about a man named Richard, 64, a retired high school teacher from Ohio, who came into my office genuinely frustrated. He was exhausted by 3 p.m. every single day. His feet were cold even when he wore 2 pairs of socks, and he had to stop and catch his breath twice, just walking one loop around the block with his dog. He wasn't looking for complicated protocols or a long list of supplements. He just wanted to feel more like himself again. We started with 2 changes: a daily spinach salad with roasted beet slices at lunch, and a 25-minute walk after breakfast. Nothing more. No dramatic overhaul, no expensive additions. After about 6 weeks, he came back and told me his afternoon energy crash had noticeably softened. His feet felt warmer by midday, and he'd completed the full walk with his dog without stopping once, for the first time in over a year. He wasn't a different man. He was the same man, giving his body the consistent inputs it needed to work better. That's what this is about. Now let's go a layer deeper, because the full picture includes a couple of things most men never connect to circulation. Chronic stress is one of them. When cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, stays elevated day after day from ongoing pressure, financial worry, or even low-grade background anxiety, it signals blood vessels to constrict. That directly works against the nitric oxide you're trying to support through food and movement. A few minutes of intentional, slow, deep breathing, 4 counts in, hold for 4, 6 counts out, can measurably lower cortisol in the short term and give your arterial walls room to relax. So can a short walk outside, which combines gentle movement with a change of environment. These aren't soft suggestions, they have a direct physiological effect on your vascular system. Sleep is another quiet powerhouse most men underestimate. During deep, uninterrupted sleep, your body actively repairs the endothelial lining of your vessels. It's one of the primary maintenance cycles your circulatory system runs while you're unconscious. 7 to 8 hours of quality, consistent sleep each night helps keep nitric oxide levels more stable throughout the following day. Men who consistently sleep fewer than 6 hours tend to show higher markers of vascular inflammation, not because sleep is magic, but because the repair work simply doesn't get completed. Here's a myth worth correcting directly. Many men believe that blood flow changes after 60 are completely inevitable, and that lifestyle has no meaningful influence. That's simply not accurate. The endothelium has demonstrated in multiple studies that it can respond positively to consistent healthy habits, even well into later life. The changes aren't instant, but they are real, and they compound over weeks and months of steady effort. One important caution that I always share and never skip: everything discussed here supports circulation as part of a healthy lifestyle. It is not a replacement for medical evaluation. If you experience chest pain, sudden shortness of breath, significant swelling in one leg, or any symptom that feels urgent, see your doctor immediately, without delay. Results vary from person to person, and your individual health history matters. Always get personalized guidance from your own physician. What most men never fully appreciate is how these habits reinforce each other. The nitric oxide boost from nitrate-rich vegetables, paired with daily walking that stimulates vessel wall flexibility, paired with quality sleep that allows endothelial repair. These don't simply add up. They compound. Each one makes the others more effective. One habit helps. All of them working together supports the system in the way it was designed to be supported. So let's bring it all together. The 4 silent signs: persistent fatigue that lingers past a good night's sleep, reduced stamina during ordinary activities, chronically cold hands and feet, and slower healing of minor skin injuries can quietly appear after 60 when blood flow begins to weaken. Inside the body, the main drivers are stiffer arteries, declining nitric oxide production, rising low-grade inflammation, and hormonal shifts that reduce vascular responsiveness. The genuinely good news is that consistent, practical choices, nitrate-rich vegetables, omega-3 foods, daily brisk walking, light strength training, proper hydration, stress management, and steady quality sleep can meaningfully support healthier circulation without extreme changes or complicated routines. Your age doesn't determine your vascular health. Your daily habits do, and small steps taken consistently over time give your body the conditions it needs to keep blood moving the way it was designed to. You don't have to feel like you're slowly losing ground to the years. You can take practical, evidence-supported steps that respect exactly where you are right now and help you keep fully enjoying the life you've worked hard to build. If this gave you even one idea you're going to try this week, I genuinely appreciate a thumbs up. It helps other men over 60 find this information when they need it most. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and which of the 4 signs has been showing up most for you lately. I read every single one, and your responses genuinely shape what I cover next. In my next video, I'll be talking about drinks before bed after 50. Doctor explains why. Take care of yourself out there. You've got a lot of good years ahead, and the small, steady things you do right now can make every one of them feel better. I'll see you in the next one.